It's also what they put on dogs so that they don't scratch their. You like, you know, like all you need is.
Are you calling me a bitch? Is that what you're doing right now?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
That's not nice.
That is that if there was a bitch costume for Halloween, that would be it. It'd be up on the list.
Can we talk about how Andrew Tate, Alex Jones, Elon Musk, Vivek, all of these guys got on a stream together and 120,000 people were there live?
Yeah. Did you see that Vivek pissed?
I saw Vivek was taking a piss during it was just hilarious. It made him more human to me. I mean, I thought it was.
Yeah, and he pissed for a long time. I was like, bro, how long were you pinching?
He's running a campaign, dude. He's thirsty. He's drinking water.
Damn, man. Like, stop for a second. What are you drinking, homie?
Thank you, everybody, for joining Finance Junkies. Me and Carlos are doing your daily pre-show before the guys get in here. For those that don't understand what's on my neck, you guys don't get fashion. I don't know what to tell you.
Fashion. I told him it looks like he's wearing a toilet seat cover.
It's not a toilet seat. It's a muffler. Okay. And it is because of my Bitcoin gains. I'm wearing sheep now. All right. Yeah. I'm just wearing a concrete sheep or leather, whatever you want to call it.
You're all frozen now.
It's not too bad. Okay. So what do you think of the Twitter spaces?
I listened to most of
frozen?
it.
No, I should be good.
No, you're okay. I listened to most of it, and it was cool to actually just hear them all communicating. They all sort of share a similar ideology, and it was interesting to see them just talking back and forth. At a certain point, I was getting a bit annoyed because it seemed like an Elon circle jerk about how great the acquisition of Twitter. I mean, I don't think that can be understated. That I think Jason DeBolt posted this the other day. Like, we'll never know what the true implications would have been had he not have bought the platform. But I think we're all starting to realize that we're glad that he did. I think in general, even if it's not on X, I think in general, people feel more comfortable now sharing what they really believe about everything. I wouldn't say it's like, early 2000s levels, but I personally, and I feel like other people feel more comfortable saying what they really think about things.
But ignoring the toxic comments in the chat from these people that don't Luke called it a sheepskin condom, dude.
It does look like a white fur foreskin.
Okay, fuck it. I'm not wearing this anymore. Fuck that. That was the last straw. That was the last straw. We're not doing it. Man. As soon as you said that one, I was like, all right.
Because then you want to just like wrap it's like slide it up.
Dude, the Goodwill Hunting joke, you appreciated it. KRIS didn't get it. He was in the middle of doing his macro analysis. VITALY was just like buzzed or something. He didn't get it. You got it, though.
I don't think he made the connection.
He didn't make the connection. No,
I don't think he made the connection. And look, having been interrupted in the middle of like trying to get a thought out when someone makes a joke, even if you get it, you're like, dude, not now. I'm trying to learn people some shit.
But let me share that joke, that moment real quick for those that didn't catch it last night, because I thought it was a good connection. And KRIS was talking about goodwill and impairment charges and shit.
I love how you know what we gotta democratize this, because it's funny how all the clips that you would ever make it out from our shows are all about you being funny or you saying something smart. It's like, come on, other people say shit too. But go ahead.
That's true. I have like 10 minutes before I go to sleep. I'm like, let me find some good moment. We need an okay.
Where am I talking?
No, I was actually gonna say this. Wong, let me see if Wong's up for this. We need an editor to take some good moments. If you watch the pod every night or at least a couple times a week, turn them into clips. We'll make a real X Finance Junkies account as soon as we have an editor, and just help us post these clips, because I don't have time to take these clips, and no AI software is going to find these like golden moments.
No.
So if email amit@dailypalantir.com. Email me tonight if you want some money for it. We'll figure out some to make this paid. But really, you should be passionate about this more so than paid. KRIS, I'm pitching to the audience. We need someone who's willing to take 5 to 6 golden moments from the pod every night and upload them to our Twitter account that we're eventually going to make. Because these moments are just highlighting my humor, but sometimes you guys have good moments. Sometimes, once in a blue moon, most of the clips will still be me.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to do it, please let us know. This was last night when KRIS didn't get the joke. Here we go.
Goodwill means absolute dog.
Right, because if you're hunting for goodwill, you might not find a good movie. No. KRIS, you get it? If you're hunting for goodwill, you might not find a good movie. That was the point. Hunting goodwill.
My take was
goodwill. Goodwill is actually
KRIS didn't. Mr. Curse over there didn't get
goodwill is one of the things. I absolutely freaking hate when people come to me and says, "Oh, the company's book
Chris just went.
Goodwill means absolute dog.
Chris just went right back to doing your goodwill stuff. So
my point was that I don't think you made the connection that he was making a reference to the movie. And then I said, as someone who's been interrupted in the middle of trying to make a point, it's kind of annoying when someone interrupts you to make a joke. So I think those two things were at play.
Pretty much.
We're going to get into CPI in a second. That's the first topic. I think VITALY should make it. He might be just a little late. But yeah, I'm serious about that. If anyone who watches the pod every night has time to take a couple of moments from the pod, it might take you like maybe 10 minutes a day. It takes me like 2 minutes to clip out these clips. You can literally screen record it on your iPhone. You don't need a fancy software or anything like that. Hit me up and maybe we can work out something paid because we need these clips and I just don't have time to get them every single night. But
yeah,
if anyone wants to do it, let me know.
The Finance Junkies X account is long overdue.
Yeah, we need to make that account. We have to make that account and get it up there. All right. Thank you everybody for joining. 218 people here. CPI came in at 3.1, below 3.2. Energy fell. Shelter was still up. Used cars went up. Medical index went up. And apparel came down. So we had a lot of wishy-washy stuff up and down, but ultimately came in at 3.1. Core was at 4. That was unchanged. Market hit 52-week highs today, which is pretty incredible given the report that we got. And 2 out of the 5 big tech were down for the day, Tesla and Google. Let's start off with you, Chris. What was your raw take to what we saw and where do you think this economy is going?
I mean, this sets up Powell to give us a really some bad news tomorrow. But I think what it is the market is expecting the Santa Claus rally because usually Santa Claus rallies are after Christmas and usually the beginning of January. So there's a lot of market forces that come in.
Wait, hold on. I didn't know that. Santa Claus is after Christmas and into January. That's what it's usually?
That week between Christmas and New Year.
I thought it was just the month of December. I thought that was Santa Claus, right?
It's usually right after Christmas.
I didn't know that. Okay.
No, so there could be some market forces there. There's also retail starting to get back in kind of heavy into some of the more speculative names, but they all kind of dropped off a little bit today. So it was a very interesting dynamic. As I said in your morning stream, I think the Mag 7 is going to be up with the exception of Google, primarily because of the Epic Games thing. You know, that definitely is not going to be a healthy look for Google for a few days at least. So the market's going to digest those news. So I would say we are at a point where things are just all over the place. Not really good news, not really bad news. I will say this. I am not selling out of my positions, but I'm not buying anything right now. I'm waiting for better opportunities. I'm stockpiling cash. And on top of it, I am downgrading my options positions and just going into stock instead. So like right now, even if I do add anything, it'll probably be more on the stock side because, you know, when things are confusing, you don't want to hobble yourself up with time sensitive assets or securities, whatever you want to call options. So,
but it is a good time. It is a good time during the fear if you do want to buy some long call options.
Yeah, but we're not in fear. I mean, look, we're hitting all-time highs. That's not fear. Fear is when
if we get fear on Wednesday, you watch the value of those things drop.
And I'd say go ahead. Sorry.
This is my pushback. If AI is here to stay in 2024, does CPI really matter that much? If earnings growth is going to be there, and
but AI is supposed to help companies do what they do better and ultimately create more revenue. But if people are holding on to cash or not making the purchases that they once were, no matter how good the AI is, it can't force people to part with their money. At the end of the day, these companies, it needs to translate to revenue on the bottom line. So I think the combination of like the first earnings or so after this, like maybe when we see what happens in January combined with what happens, I think Crossroads had a good comment that we're going to see the most hawkish pause.
Well, that's the reason I'm saying it, because I don't try to help me make sense of this. This was not a good report. Core was unchanged. CPI barely down. Markets are at 52-week highs. So that's why I'm asking the question,
you're forgetting the main one, unemployment. Unemployment was down. That's not good for anything that the Fed could possibly have. Right now, we're driven, like the Fed is not really paying attention to CPI as much as, believe it or not, they're paying attention to unemployment. Unemployment's the one that I'm looking at right now. So if I don't know. Why would you want to see the unemployment numbers higher,
considering the fact that we don't have too much granular detail about the exact about the exact makeup of the unemployment numbers, but still, why would you want to see the unemployment numbers higher?
So two things.
Wait, especially after a year of so many layoffs. Remember all the layoffs that we recently had, like 2022 was like a year of layoffs. So it seems like these people are finding a home.
No, but the thing is, you're still seeing a ton of job creation all over the place. So you're having people move from some of the tech sectors into more construction and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's a rotation happening where people are moving away from some of the softer positions into more, you know, some of the more labor intensive roles. But I think the key here is going to be, when it comes to inflation, a strong consumer is usually buoyed by a strong labor environment. When you have a strong labor environment, which means that there's not a lot of unemployment, that means that a lot of that bargaining power comes to workers. And if workers have bargaining power, they're going to be moving jobs. They're going to be asking for bigger raises. They're going to be asking for all sorts of things that end up causing more inflation to happen, which is fine. I mean, that's just part of the economy. So the key is, if unemployment starts to shoot up a little bit, you know, the workers are going to, that's basically going to sap away the ability for workers to make more money than the current inflation. So I'll give you an example. Like right now, my company,
hiring a new person versus paying the existing people more.
Well, no, I'm saying that businesses are going to be in a position where if they have to pay their workers more, that means that they're going to have to charge consumers higher prices on the goods and services. And if they have to charge higher for goods and services, it rotates right back into the inflation narrative again. On the other hand, if more people are unemployed, right, it means that there's less aggregate demand out there, which means that people are not going to be buying as much. People are not going to be using as many services, which means that everything else is going to rotate out. So a lot of businesses are going to have to, you know, go the other direction. So the way that the wheel works is, you know, if labor market is tight, workers demand higher wages, workers higher demand wages. So companies eventually relent. Companies end up raising prices. And because people raise prices, workers demand more money. And then it just goes on and on in a circle, right? So right now, the goal of the Fed is to take as much demand out of the market as possible, so the exact opposite thing happens. So if a person gets laid off, they're not spending money. If they don't spend money, then the company lays more people off, because that means their goods and services are not being bought as much, which means now they're either going to lower prices or
trying to break the economy.
And then at the same time, it goes again. You know, it just, like I said, it goes in reverse. So right now we're looking for that reverse.
Well, I hear that, but the thing is, people still have to, there's still a certain base level of income that people need. And if they're not getting it from a job, then they're getting it from government services, or they're going into debt. I mean, I think someone said that here. Francisco Gonzalez, 613. There is no strong consumer. Debt levels are sky high. So people are still making the purchases, but if they're borrowing that money, right, in order to make the purchases, then that's a worse position, because then you have situations where these people can default.
No, that's absolutely a big worry. The longer you keep the situation like this and consumers borrowing money, the other thing is, lending right now should be tightening at the same time, which is also another part of the equation. But there are still a lot of shocks in the system that we haven't necessarily factored in yet. So I'll give you an example of something that really threw me off, and I didn't consider this until like literally I saw this report, which was car insurance prices. I don't know. You see what I was posting on the Discord, Amit? Did you see that? I
was in the Discord in the morning. I haven't checked it all day.
All right.
Yeah, let me just pull it up.
Real quick. Somebody, what was it? Dominic, share the screen for a second.
Your screen?
Yeah, 1 second. There it is. Can you see it?
Yeah.
So they uploaded a new Optimius video. This is like 7 minutes ago. So let's check this out together.
Okay, while Chris is pulling that up, let's look at this clip. Did you see this yet, Carlos, or no?
Yeah, I was watching it while Chris was talking, but I didn't see it.
This is
promo. It's a promo video.
It's a promo. I mean, it's pretty cool. Chris's thesis of them killing us looks like it's gonna happen.
Generation.
Keep giving these goddamn killer robots legs. And
wow, the movement's improved so much.
All right. Take the volume out. Take the volume out.
Okay, I'm muted. Oh, I can do it right from here. That's perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll get demonetized because this was I'm playing it off X.
Yeah.
Dude, it doesn't fucking matter. YouTube will take it.
YouTube.
Dude, there's this account on Twitter that's posting full videos. I don't know if it's coming up in your feed. It's like Oppenheimer, Flight Club. They just
Oh yeah,
put
yeah.
the
The
whole-
guy's like, yeah,
the
the
guy's
guy's
like, fuck it, full movie. And you know, on YouTube, you'd be destroyed if you did that.
oh yeah, yeah. He's an anti-Disney guy.
Probably.
Okay. So sorry, I can't really make it too big. This is all that really lets me. But basically, this was one of the things that I saw that kind of like irked me a little bit. If you look at transportation services, they were up 10% year over year. And the main reason why is because automotive repair and maintenance was about 8.5%, and vehicle insurance was about 20% higher. Can you believe that? 20%
Yeah,
higher.
no, I saw that this morning. Insurance did go higher. Why do you think that's
Yeah.
happening? Why do you think transportation's up, and why do you think insurance is higher?
It comes to damn, I put all the DD in the stupid Discord. But basically, if you look at the prices of cars, they're actually much higher than what you would have thought. You know, there's a couple of reasons why. One, we had the supply chain issues with cars, and then the prices of the cars started to go up. But then you also had this last month where you had the strikes by the UAW, so that also added into the mix. Also, the other thing is U.S. car production hasn't necessarily gone up very much, and a lot of people are expecting, you know, this deluge of automotive repossessions to come in, and you know that should flood the market with used cars. But that's not necessarily happening right now. So I think the used car and the car market is something to keep an eye on. And I don't know, maybe cars are just getting more expensive these days, you know, but that
also,
goes to
as EVs get adopted, they are a little bit more expensive to insure.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
In general, they're at a higher price point, but on average, I would say it was about 20% more expensive to insure the equivalent Tesla in the same category. But you could argue that the overall out of pocket will be lower because in general the EVs are a lot safer. Like there's just so many more active safety features. Like I think I was thinking about this the other day on the highway. Like I think trying to commit a crime in a Tesla would be the stupidest thing you could possibly do with the internal camera, all the cameras on it. It's also you can see it on your app. It'd be like trying to steal a Tesla or do anything illegal with a Tesla would be silly. So my belief is that once the numbers come in, I hope that insurance rates would come down some.
Let me ask you this question, Chris. Shelter obviously is still lagging for the Fed, it seems. That's one of the reasons Tom Lee said if we see a dip on the FOMC meeting, he's suggesting the clients to buy the dip because his argument is Shelter is going to nuke inflation by January, February. Do you kind of agree with that perspective that that's the next leg to fall?
I mean, I would think so. Hold on one second. Sorry.
But what's his rationale?
Mortgages are coming down. They went from 8 to 7. Mortgage applications are going up. Housing prices are going down. Rents are coming down.
Okay, so
what about the approval rates though?
So let's break this down really quickly. You have rent, which is definitely coming down. Like no one can tell me right now the rent is not.
Why?
But
How do you know
the way
that? How do you know that? Anecdotally,
look around the data. The data is all pointing to rent actually being. The problem is owner's equivalent rent is what people usually base this stupid metric on. Where the Fed actually just goes and says, "Hey, how much do you think your house would rent for?" As a sentiment, you know, as opposed to just looking at real time fucking data. So the data that the Fed is using is complete dog shit, in my opinion. It's not really worth looking at. Because if you're looking at around the country, especially in some of the areas like Texas, Florida, you know, there is a lot of vacancies that are coming on the market. And then you're also seeing a lot of you're also seeing a lot of multifamily units come online as well. So yeah, rents are going down. The only thing is it's not reflecting in there. There's still a lot of people thinking that their house is sitting on a fucking gold mine, you know, that their house is worth $600,000, $700,000 that they bought 4 years ago for $350,000, $400,000, and they think that they can get like $6,000 of rent. And it's like, bro, go ahead, put it on the open market and see how much you actually get. You know, so a lot of people are not taking that into consideration. And so I think as more and more homes come on the market, the price of rent actually starts to come down, and home prices, when they start to come down, things will start to, you know, be a little bit better. But right now everyone is sitting on their 3% mortgages and everyone's happy. I think, like I said, the Fed needs to engineer a recession in order to get the housing market and all these other things to correct the way that they want it to correct. Otherwise, we're likely to see a higher inflation print for the next year. So it's either one of two things is going to happen. You're going to see a recession hit, in which case inflation is going to go down really, really fast, or you're going to see the economy just kind of pitter along for an entire year. And I think next month we're actually going to see a sizable correction in the market.
So over 50% of the analysts believe that we're going to start to see rates come down in March, and like 90-something% believe if not March, then definitely by June. You disagree?
Correct. And KRIS doesn't think it's March either. I mean,
you don't think it's March?
Logical.
You don't think it's March or
no, it's not March.
Or June?
I think it's June. But things have to go well the next 6 months. I don't think it's March. I think what'll carry the economy, even if we have this correction KRIS is talking about, is earnings growth, because I don't think that's necessarily going away. But KRIS, I do think the little pushback is that if shelter does fall off a cliff and then some other things fall off a cliff, then we might see that two handle in the next 3 months. So there might not need to be this correction you're talking about.
I want to wait before you answer. I also just want to throw this thing out there. A $52,000 car in 2018 would be about $76,000 today, right? But that car company would be reporting technically higher earnings. So when we talk about higher earnings, there's got to be some explanation with that, because even if they're reporting higher earnings due to the inflation rate, they could be making more money off less customers. This is one of the reasons why Apple stopped reporting the number of unit sales for iPhone and just started reporting revenue, right? Because they were technically selling less phones, but they were charging more for them, so the revenue continued to go up. And so I wonder if that's taken into account when we see the higher earnings. Well, obviously, if everyone's charging more money, they are going to show higher earnings. But those higher earnings, when you account for inflation, are they really higher earnings? Or is it really just masking slowed growth?
So if you look at this is the used car and normal car prices. You can see there's a huge discrepancy on what was predicted and where we are today.
What is it? What's the
this is a used car.
This
is the used cars, and this is the average price
versus
of the
used
date.
cars.
Yeah. So like right now, average price of used cars like 32,000. Even dude, you could have bought a car in Okay, so I bought a car in 2017, which I sold last year. I got a higher price for it used than I bought it new.
Me too.
By a very wide margin.
I bought a car. I bought an EV in 2019 for $9,000 with and then I put 20,000 miles on it, and 3 years later sold it for 12,000 on Carvana.
Yeah, that's not how it's supposed to happen. So I think right now we've got a lot of issues in the market, and so I don't know. Like right now is a very confusing time to be in the market. I can tell you that in the short term, I would rather not be part of maybe another 4 or 5% rally, in which case things get washed very quickly. I think January is going to be a bad month, so I'm staying in a pretty
real quick, KRIS. You think it's going to be a bad month because you think inflation is going to be hotter in January and the Fed's not cutting in March, and that's what's going to spook the market essentially?
Yeah, I mean, you've got multiple catalysts that tell you that we're going to have a bad month. So
okay, what are those catalysts? Walk through those real quick.
Okay, number one, you look at the Cleveland Fed, right? The Cleveland Fed does its now casting, bro. They're projecting right now about 3.38, maybe 3.4% handle on the CPI next month, with core being same thing, flat year over year, which means that whatever narrative there was about a March cut, definitely not going to be there.
Right.
The other thing is wintertime is when there's the least amount of homes that come on the market for sale. So what ends up happening is the inventory stays pretty low. The key is to watch those inventory numbers next year, but in the wintertime, there's just not many sales, which means that there's not going to be a lot of downward pressure on homes, which means that shelter is still going to be another month of this perceived increase. So I don't know. Right now
but inventory being low could be good for the average sale price.
That's what I mean. That's what'll keep inflation high. You know what I mean? We want home prices to go down so that this way it brings inflation down, which means that now we're more likely to get a Fed cut. If home prices stay higher, not good.
But that's only if there's an equivalent demand, obviously.
There is demand, but the problem is right now with interest rates the way they are, no one can afford. Like, dude, some of these
shitty month to move. Let's be honest. It's shitty month to move.
Yeah, it's a shitty month to move.
Anybody with kids does not want to be moving in the middle of December, unless you're getting a great deal. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're seeing some of the price, as what Crossroads says, profit taking in the big seven. I know they had a green day, but like, I mean, that's, you know, people might be a little scared, to Chris's point, and this might be a top.
You gotta, you gotta ask yourself, are we at or near a top? Like, you gotta ask yourself if the valuations that we're seeing, if the S&P hitting all-time highs is justified right now.
I think there's a rotation also, right? Away from mega cap tech to smaller and medium-sized businesses, which today my portfolio, I was looking at it, I have some names that have been running and they're on the mid cap and small cap side,
right?
Which is good to see, because that means that now like you're seeing the rally broaden out a little bit. But once again, you have to be very cognizant that not all small caps are good. Like, there are a ton of shitty small caps out there and they all got hammered today. So I would say, you know, this is a stock picker's market in the small and mid caps for the next year. You know, so companies with good free cash flow, companies with pricing power, they'll be fine. The ones that are just shitty, that are riding on meme stock crazes, those are the ones that you don't want to be in.
You know? What do you think Jay Powell's going to say tomorrow? You think he's going to just be super hawkish, and do you think the market's going to buy it, or the market's going to just not care at the end of the day? Because I think he's going to try to be as hawkish as he possibly can be.
Doesn't it seem like those meetings are more just about to get a gauge on the guy? Like, you just want to get a gauge and sort of read his face. Like, what's he really saying? You know, you know,
dude, he's going to be a hawk tomorrow. He doesn't like the euphoria. He didn't like that unemployment rate gain at 3.7. I think Chris is right about that.
Yeah.
But I don't think the market's going to believe him tomorrow. I think the market's going to be like, fuck you. We're not letting the December rally stop. I really do. Granted, the market could also tank because 52-week highs.
Like I said, it could go in either direction. So the best thing to do is not be in it, right? Just chill. Like, this is the one time where you have to use risk to reward as a benchmark for what you want to do. Do you want to risk a 10% correction for maybe 2% gain? Like, does that make sense to you? No, you want to buy when things are at fear. Right now, we're not at fear. So just chill, relax, put some cash together, because when a good opportunity comes, that's when you're supposed to deep dive in. So,
yeah, I agree. RLG, hello. Thank you for being here in the chat. Thank you, 386 people, for being here. So we talked about CPI. We talked about inflation. Obviously, those were some of the headline pieces of news that came out today. I wanted to bring up this topic and see what you guys have to say.
I'm telling you, we didn't finish the Optimus video. There's some crazy shit I want.
Okay, let's finish the Optimus video.
I want to finish this.
Go ahead, let's finish. We got a minute left here.
I don't care if we get the money. I want to hear the dentist office.
I mean, it is kind of crazy. This robot that's alive. Improved balance and full body control.
I'm just so surprised at the dexterity of the fingers, how smooth the move.
I like that word, dexterity. I'm gonna steal that word.
That's how sensing on each of the fingers.
I don't like this thing, dude.
Do we start the debate? It's been a month. It's been a month. We got
be like, when do they put a gun in that thing's hand? And
we got,
bro, I'm already imagining a motherfucker with a gun walking around. You know, I mean, dude, this is how first it's things like this. Oh my God, it's gonna help us improve our life. And then someone's gonna say, oh, you know what? Maybe we should use these for law enforcement.
This is what I said. How do you see that? How do you see that with a robot and you don't see that with companies like Meta? When I bring it up, you're like, I'm like, how do you not see that? This is supposed to improve our life and it could ruin us. But you think this robot running around with a gun is gonna come after you? Like,
maybe I've watched too many movies, dude. Maybe I watched too many movies, but this shit scares me, dude. I mean, this and drones, those two things scare the shit out of me.
Dude, drones worry me more than this. Because drones are actually super cheap to produce. Like these are about $25,000, say $30,000 at scale. You can get one of those for 25 grand. Yeah, it's basically RoboCop. But drones are just far easier to deploy. They're kind of disposable, right? They can be big, they can be small. You can control an entire army of them.
Watch.
Okay,
watch
so
us.
Chris,
Yeah.
do you think this thing is actually going to eat society and take over the world, or you think we can make a lot of money off this? Like, which one are you on the side of? This Optimus spot.
I don't know, dude. I've seen too many
he's
movies where the
honestly,
robots.
honestly, I think the dude's just joking that he's that.
No, I
concerned
don't.
about
I'm
this. I
actually
just don't
concerned.
believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe that
I
you
just-
stay up at night being like, oh man, they're on Gen 2.
I don't stay up at night like thinking about these things, but I'm thinking like, man, is my kid gonna have to fucking fight the T-2000 or some shit? You know, like
No, I
this
actually
is just.
think
This is
actually-
where why do we need robots? Like, can't we just work with humans? Like, can't just
Look,
humans
Ka-
just do
Kaiser-
jobs?
Kaiser
You know?
at 6:30 nailed it. The Model 2 or whatever the next gen vehicle is going to be built by these. This is the thing. This is going to replace a lot of the factory workers. This is going to replace a lot of
the
the
margins
mundane-
on that Model 2 then are
This
gonna
is what I'm
be-
saying. Imagine what happens to like when you essentially make labor force essentially infinite. How many companies are going to buy these things? How many people will be out of a job? It's going to be a massive upheaval, like more so than like, you know, autonomy on the driving side. But seriously, a lot of the people now that are pushing like all those factory workers, these robots are never going to go on strike. I mean, unless you believe like an iRobot future, that is going to drastically change the economy. And at least initially, the companies that have that, man, they're going to just, their profits are going to shoot through the roof.
Chris, well, Don has a good point, Chris. Robots won't unionize.
That's what
mean,
I'm saying.
like,
And they
yeah,
don't take days off. They
we don't
don't.
take days off.
they never
Dude, like
call in
it's actually
sick.
the most perfect solution ever. Even though there's a lot of people that are gonna be unemployed. I get it. That sounds bad. That sounds really bad. But like you never have to worry about these motherfuckers taking days off. You just
But-
charge them and then
Well,
they
once
work.
you get out of one generation, once you pass one generation where these have been just sort of the standard, and people don't even consider the types of jobs that they do as possible careers, there's a
Correct.
possibility that we might see a boom in the sort of intellectual sciences, right?
Well, I
mean,
agree because isn't there a common saying that humans are not meant to work in a factory for 40 years?
No,
I mean, like-
that's why that is punishment when you go to jail. Hard labor is
Right,
punishment. It's considered a punishment. No one sits you in a book and no one sits you in jail and says, learn physics. You
Right.
know?
There's a segment of the population, sort of Midwestern America, that embraces that culture. But those people eventually, you know, they will die out like all of us will. And they're going to have children. And do those children in the year 2100 want to be, you know, melding steel? That made no sense. I don't even know what that, but you know what I mean? Like, probably not. They're going to want to do stuff that's not as hard.
I just would love to see kids moving more towards like the intellectual sciences, the critical thinking, reasoning based careers. I think we need that. I think that's going to be once you make manual labor like not so much of a thing anymore. I mean, think about what that does to the power that a country like China has over us right now as the factory of the world, right? If you now can just basically make them here.
Yeah, I agree.
I think this actually causes a lot of income inequality. I mean, you think about it, the people who own all the robots, they get all the profit, right? Because they'll be able to produce goods and services at a very cheap price. But the people who need to use those goods and services are going to be at the beckoning call of them. So I don't know.
That will drive prices down.
What do you mean? Like automation will drive prices down? But
Yeah.
if you don't have a job to buy the product, then what's the point?
Well, the jobs that people do are going to be different. The jobs that people do will
Like,
be,
so tell me which jobs this robot is not going to replace?
what do you mean?
Like, what
A
jobs
robot?
does this robot not replace? Yeah.
Well, if you have
YouTube?
well, the intellectual side. I mean, although you could argue
No,
that
there's no fucking AI
Yeah,
pod. Dude, I tried listening to them. It's bad. Maybe it'll get better. but-
eventually it'll get better. But basically, the things that humans are good at doing that robots can't, at least right now, easily replicate. So when it comes to like lifting boxes, moving products from here and there, I mean, you just need those products move. You don't care who particularly does it. Those are the jobs that those robots will replace. But the intellectual professions are not going to go away. Like that robot's not going to replace a writer.
Yeah, they've already started becoming AI girlfriends, so they've started taking over
Jesus.
OnlyFans. But no,
That's going to happen. Yeah,
By
robots.
the way,
That's true.
did you guys see that? Did you guys see the guy who used AI to create like an artificial person, put it on Instagram, become an Instagram influencer, and is monetizing the shit out of her?
Oh, I've seen they've already been doing that on OnlyFans with those AI.
Yeah.
Like what is Midjourney? Yeah,
Something like that. It's a very interesting concept. So now Instagram, I don't know, man. It's just the world is looking more and more dystopian by the day, bro. I don't know. Maybe I'm at a point in life where I'm getting older and I'm becoming one of those guys that like goes out the door and like yells like, "You damn kids, stop making the noise," you know? So I used to be the younger, more optimistic person, like, yeah, man, technology is gonna make everything great. And as I get older, I'm just like, man, technology is gonna keep fucking ruining lives, you know? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's an age thing.
Let me or Carlos, you want to do one last point?
I'm just saying it's the natural progression of things. With every new advancement in technology, we have to get rid of the previous ones. I heard a quote that said something like, humanity did not get where it was by perfecting old systems, but by constantly inventing new ones, right? And that's how it goes. Like eventually we needed to make a car. It wasn't about making the best carriage anymore.
Let me transition to this topic. This was really interesting. Netflix, for the first time ever in history, put out a report of how many watch hours their shows have gotten from January to June. If you download this file, it's on their website. It's like 18,000 lines of data they released on Excel. Here are the top 30. I thought this was really interesting. You season 4 racked in 440 million watching hours. I don't know if you guys have seen You, but that's a really interesting show that I like.
No.
This tells me one thing. This tells me one thing just looking at this. There are more women that watch Netflix than men.
Why? Why do you say that?
Look at the stuff that everyone's watching on there. A lot of it is female oriented.
I mean, that is true. Now, granted, I also watched You and Sex Life. Sex Life is also a really interesting show that got 175 million views.
Time to watch fucking TV.
Okay, there were 2 shows. Okay, I watched both in January. Both of them came out January, February. They were like 8 hours each, and these are shows I started watching in college. So these are my leisure shows. This is like I had to watch You and I had to watch Sex Life. Now, granted, the point I wanted to make is these are original Netflix shows, and that's what I thought was so interesting. The conversation I wanted to have is what the hell do you guys think is going to happen with Paramount and Peacock? Because like, there's no way they're putting up these types of numbers. I mean, 812 million watching hours in the first 6 months is just absolutely insane for some of these shows. Bridgerton, 503 million. So I guess the question is, do we think Netflix is really going to consolidate? Paramount is up 20% because Skybridge Media might end up buying them out. And do you think a lot of that content is going to come back to the platform?
I worked for Paramount for a long time, and I worked for a lot of the sister companies that were eventually all sort of grouped into this right now. It's not good right now for them. They're basically streamlining and only putting money and resources behind like the big hits. It's really hard to compete for all of that attention. They have a core group, but I don't know that they have plans for growth, but I think it's really hard. It seems to me like it's a case of too little, too late, to be honest. I feel like once people develop their habits, it's very hard. There might be a couple of breakout shows, but I just see it as they're just shuffling things around. I don't think that they'll ever grow to be the size that they once were. That's just from what I'm hearing from the people that I still talk to that are in the business. I've seen firsthand a lot of the layoffs, and I would say out of 100 people that I know that work there, maybe 2 of them are still employed. That's a lot of people gone. And I see them on LinkedIn, and they write me looking for work, and I don't know what to say. I feel like the business contracted in the beginning of January and people don't want to accept it. They still feel like things are coming back, but I'm cautiously optimistic about now that we have, now that the strikes are over, but I don't know that we're ever going to return to those levels. And then I don't know if we're ever going to return to pre-pandemic levels. You know what I mean? I feel like it's in a slow spiral down.
There needs to be consolidation. I think everyone launched a streaming service all at one time. They had price wars amongst each other while disrupting their core business, which was the linear TV market. So now, listen, if this industry wants to survive, there's one thing that they need to do, and they need to do it ASAP. They need to call the government and say, you need to legislate these motherfuckers from Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and get them the hell out of content creation business. What I mean by that is things like Apple TV buying up all these things. So now you're having they can afford to lose money for a long time, whereas these guys can't. So
that is unrealistic, and I would say
because you're getting more. I'm telling you, you're getting more monopoly power. You're giving more monopoly power to the big guys. Like right now, Amazon Prime They could lose money for the next 5 years, but if Paramount goes out, that's it. Now Amazon Prime is the only thing you can go to. You know, that and maybe Netflix. So
as long as you
same
have
thing with
2 to
Apple.
3 players. Yeah, but as long as you have 2 to 3 players, that's just the way it's going to go. I mean, even
No,
before
that's-
that, even before that, there was only a handful of movie studios. It's not like there was 15, 20, 30 movie studios. There was a handful of
Right.
movie studios. And if you were an actor and you couldn't work at any one of the 2, 3, 4, 5, you were done. Or television networks, right? It's the same sort of deal. I can't see that the government's going to come in.
I'm just saying that right now, there's so much of our lives already being dictated by these 5 big companies. You don't want to give them more outsized power, because the more power that concentrates with them, the more they can influence the regular populace to do whatever the hell they want. You know, so
well, how
What,
many
regulation are you calling for?
He's saying that the government would come in and regulate these big tech companies and prevent them from essentially being content creators or studios, so that we don't concentrate too much power on the content creation side among them. But I mean,
So like Google can't buy Paramount, essentially.
yeah, like saying that they're too
Yeah,
big.
but the government wouldn't let them. You don't need regulation. There's no way the government would let them. Meta's not going to be able to buy.
what are you talking about, dude? Look at Amazon. What did Amazon buy? Amazon bought MGM.
Ah,
and
you're
all those
right. They got
properties.
MGM. You're right.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
telling you,
just because one of the companies it goes into the content creation business, it doesn't mean that it's going to be successful. I mean, I think we can agree that Facebook Watch wasn't the hit that they expected it to be. It had it was a flash in the pan, and they could lose money on that forever. And they were producing pretty good shows. It just people didn't watch it.
I mean, what I'm saying is you don't want too much concentration in the big guys. Like right now, you're seeing big tech have all sorts of monopolistic power because of their cash flows. They can go and do a lot of crazy things in this market and bankrupt everyone else. And then, in which case, now they're the only dominant players left. And then you have no one else to go to but them. And then
They're doing
it's
that.
really hard to unwind.
They're doing that already in every corner of the markets that they operate. I mean,
yeah, and that's not good. That's what you don't want.
But it's
right?
it's what's happening. And the flip side of it is, I mean, how many car companies do we have? They call it the big 3. It's like Ford, GM, Stellantis, right? There's only those 3, and the government not only allows them to operate, but subsidizes them and saves them if they fail. So,
but that's just the U.S. But that's what I'm saying, that there are still a lot of competitors in the auto sector. If right now you have all this consolidation happening with content creation, which what I mean by content creation, not like YouTube, like us, but even YouTube having this much power. I mean, you saw what happened with what do they call the All In podcast? One of their fan channels got banned by Instagram for no reason. Like it was something that David Sachs did.
It was his channel, from what I saw. I reposted that. Jesse was pretty upset about it.
It wasn't David Sachs who posted that. It wasn't David Sachs replies to it.
Okay, I'm going to pull up the tweet.
It was the Olin fan account. It's not David's actual account.
Yeah. So that's the thing. When you have too much power now, especially with the election coming up, imagine there's only like 4 or 5 real big content guys, and they say, you know what? Like right now, let's just imagine this. YouTube right now, everyone watches YouTube. It's a great platform. We love it to death. What if YouTube said, you know what? We don't want RFK Jr. as a presidential candidate. So any content that RFK is in, we'll automatically demonetize it.
It's not about, they don't even have to demonetize it. That's already happening. He's already being sort of shadow banned from the public Discord.
Right. And the reason why is because these big tech companies have the monopolistic power to actually do that.
Okay, but drill down to that even further. It's not that they have the power. Who's telling them to do that? And
but that's the point.
Because you have a platform, you have a platform like X that is not doing that. So you have to ask yourself, why are they doing that? Like having monopolistic power is only a problem if you use it to influence the masses, right? If you have if X is a platform where everyone can, this is freedom of reach, freedom of speech, not freedom of reach. If you have a platform that just allows people to see everything and come up with their own formulate their own opinions, then that's fine. The problem is when you put your thumb on the scale and either try to help someone or try to hurt someone else for a specific reason, essentially following an agenda. And then you have to ask, where's that agenda coming from? So if they're trying to silence RFK, it's because some of the people in power that have influence over these monopolies.
But that's what I'm saying, that why have the monopoly in the first place? Why give the latitude to the companies to allow them to have that kind of power?
Because even if you try to
dilute capitalism.
Well, right? I mean, that is capitalism, but that's not the solution. I don't think that's the solution. I don't think the solution is to say that we need to break up Google from YouTube or whatever, because the same forces can still act on YouTube if it was a separate entity than if it was part of Google.
The problem is people refuse to do it. Like right now, with all the censorship that happened post-COVID,
refuse to do what?
Okay, so let's here's an example. All the stuff that happened post-COVID with the vaccines, the disinformation, all that stuff that happened, right? What happened to Google? Did they get even once investigated? Did anything happen to them monetarily?
No, because the same organizations that were pushing them to do that would be responsible for the regulation and the legislation.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you.
They're not going to bring the hammer down if they got what they wanted.
But that's the point that I'm trying to make right now, that we have a system where there's too much control and there's too much power in one organization. And instead of saying, hey, let's figure out who's the man behind the curtain, fuck that. Let's just shut down the fucking studio. Let's shut down the theater so we don't have to worry about the man.
No, I think what you're actually saying, the point that I think you're making is that the problem is government influence over the social media companies and the tech companies. It's not the tech companies.
I think it's the opposite. The tech companies will eventually come to a point where they have more power over than even the government, where they'll say, look,
what Chris is saying is, like, Obama released this new Netflix film, right? There's a lot of controversy that there's like some social programming and there's like a lot of interesting stuff. Chris is saying if Google wants to go super woke, they could theoretically buy Netflix, being metaphorical here, and then they could start putting out these films through their insane distribution that is social programming in a certain way, if they're allowed to buy these content. My point is, the YouTube is the same thing though. So why wouldn't they just do that through YouTube?
No. Netflix and YouTube are two different things. What I'm saying is the big guys have the ability to do all this distribution, which means that they can control the message that goes out to the world, right? That is something that I disagree with. I think it should be open and a free platform, because otherwise then they're just content publishers. So they should be treated like content publishers.
But what you're talking about is what Elon's trying to do on X.
Which is fine, which is why I agree with it. We're not in disagreement over that. We are totally in agreement with that.
But I don't think that the problem is, I don't think that the solution is to try to say regulate Google or YouTube. It's
why
basically
not?
It's just, I think we need to eliminate the governmental influence, because essentially you have to ask yourself, by having all of this information flow freely, who is the one that directly benefits from that, and who's the people that are hurt by that? If the people that are hurt by that have influence over what appears on these platforms or what people can say or do, then they will use whatever levers they can to try to control that. This is one of the reasons why the government allows these monopolies, because otherwise the government would have to control 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 different companies. It's much easier if it's consolidated. You have your information pipelines, and the Twitter files revealed that, how easy it was for the government to come in and say, get rid of these accounts, push this, or suppress that, like the Hunter Biden laptop story, that kind of thing. It becomes much easier if the power is centralized, especially since that's where everybody goes. And I think for us too, we want to be.
So you're okay with the centralization of power? Is that what you're saying?
I'm okay with the centralization of it. What I'm not okay with is the backdoor influence of it. Like if Twitter or if X grew to 3, 4, 5 times the size, and say a third or half of the population was on it, having their discussions in an open forum, I think that would be better for the country than having it happen on Rumble and happen on Truth Social and happening on whatever. Ultimately, we need everyone communicating within the same pot and have all the same information flowing between us, right? And I think that's the way to do it. The problem is the backdoor influence. I mean, you saw what's his name, Al Gore at that meeting saying, now he's coming out saying that social media companies have too much power, and that he's saying the same thing that you're saying, that they're getting too big and that they need to be regulated. And people pointed out that no one seemed to have this problem when the former management was responsible for Twitter.
Why don't we transition to this topic? Because I think this is really interesting. We're going to get a little political here, but it definitely ties into the stock market. So this is still very important. Nikki Hailey is second underneath Trump right now in the Republican polls. A lot of news pieces came out for her today on CNN and ABC. They're interviewing her kids. Why do you guys think that billionaire establishment people that a lot of us know, Jamie Dimon being one of the biggest, is supporting Nikki Hailey? And to make this point, going back to the stock market, because the defense companies, this is what was posted today from Zelensky. Zelensky was meeting with defense companies today.
Uh-huh.
You guys can see it in this video. I don't know why the video is playing. It's being kind of weird, but basically, in a White House meeting with a bunch of these different people that are heads of defense contractors. Obviously, Nikki Haley, a big fan of giving Ukraine more money. What is going on right now with Nikki Haley, Zelensky and Biden had a press conference today? Make sense of all this right now. Someone.
I mean, it's all about the money, baby. Follow the money, and they'll give you the.
No,
the
Chris, they're
you'll
talking about
things.
peace. They're talking about peace
Yeah,
and
sure they are.
de-escalation.
Follow. I remember one of my NCOs actually spoke to me. He's like, you know why we're fucking in this war, Chris? I said, why? It's like, because the fucking bombs, they all have expiration dates, and we needed to use them up. It's cheaper to drop them on people than it is to disassemble them. So let's go drop some bombs on people. You know, makes sense. Trust me.
Wait, who told you this before?
One of my NCOs. It's easy. I mean,
what's
it's
NCO for people that don't know? What's NCO for people that don't know?
Non-commissioned officer is another sergeant of mine. So
okay, people being me. So
no, I mean the military industrial complex is a real thing. I mean, dude, if there were no wars,
it's a business. It's a business, and every business needs inflows and outflows. If we're at peace all the time, they're not making money.
Yeah. So right now, this Ukraine thing, it's easy. The defense contractors would love for this thing to turn into like a forever war, in which case the U.S. produces the weapons, gives them to the Ukraine and U.S. racks up the debt, you know, that our grandkids are going to have to pay. And then just goes on in a cycle, man. I mean, how much do we spend on defense right now?
790 billion.
680 billion.
790 billion.
790 billion.
Okay, whatever. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that we spend.
Right? Now we spend more money than the next 10 countries below us. All of that, 90% of the equipment never, ever gets used. What happens to it? It just gets sent overseas to fight in other people's wars, right? Think about it. All the tanks that we bought in the 1990s and 1980s and 90s, where did they all end up? You know, on different battlefields across the world. What did we do with them? We just left them there. Even when Trump, I don't know if you guys remember this, but he said, Mike, whatever, the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, when they were leaving Afghanistan, Trump's like, hey, aren't we gonna, you know, like, what are we gonna, it wasn't, Trump said this afterward, where Biden had left all the military equipment there, right? And so Trump was like, this is the stupidest thing. Why are we gonna leave all this fucking equipment over there? We can't just put a few tanks of gas in it and fly it back home? And they're like, no, it's cheaper just to leave it there. It's not cheaper to leave it there. It just means that the motherfuckers have to build more to replace that, you know? So you tell me where the logic was in leaving all that military hardware in Afghanistan. We couldn't bring it home. Why?
That's why you think Jamie Dimon and people like that are getting behind Nikki, because
hell yeah. You
don't think they would ever get behind
she was on the board?
Ever?
She was on the board, and Vivek pointed this out on their last debate, that she was close to bankruptcy. Then she gets a job. What was it? Boeing or Lockheed Martin?
Dude, she worked at the UN for like 2 seconds, and then she's a private military contractor liaison, making $9 million.
This is what I'm saying. These dots are not really difficult to connect. If anyone thinks that she's not, that is working for the average American, I think you're grossly mistaken. It's clear that if they're throwing their support behind her, it's because they believe that she will continue to fund these wars and try to expand them as much as possible, but maybe make it a forever war and just funnel insane amounts of cash through these companies. And on some backdoor, she'll get some as well.
Okay, so something that Douglas Hurstel put on there is very funny. Let me. So, Chris, do soldiers want equipment that was designed in the 70s, 80s? Bro, most of the shit that we have, some of it was designed in the 70s and 80s. All right. If you look at all the stuff that we have, it's still really old stuff. The thing is, it's the higher technology things that are really, really expensive. Those are the things that Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and all these companies, they want to keep building over and over. You know, you look at one of these Patriot missile batteries, right? The Patriot missile batteries were designed in the freaking 80s and 90s. They just keep getting upgraded over and over and over again, and, you know, just being put out there. But if they're never used, then what's the point of a Patriot missile battery? Nothing, because that means that we're not building more Patriot missile batteries. So what do? We send them to Israel. We send them to other countries around the world, you know, to protect their airspace, you know. just goes to show. I mean, everything that we produce eventually makes its way.
It also creates a perfect justification for the need to continue to spend, because if you know that you're arming other countries with weapons of a certain grade, now you need to invent weapons that are better than those in order to stay on the at the top. It's a crazy little cycle. It's a perfect little cycle.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is half of it is probably upgrading the technology of our adversaries too, so that this way we need to create something better.
Create something better.
What did you guys think of when Vivek said she can't name the provinces in Ukraine? I thought that was it was one of the best debate moments in history that I've seen. I mean, her face was like, "Yep, I don't know the fucking provinces."
And it was a good mic drop moment, and a few seconds later, she did end up naming some of the provinces. I don't know if she had someone talking in her ear.
Yeah, but see, I don't remember that, because in the moment she was same with Christie.
Oh yeah, but it was like literally 10 seconds later when she finally responded.
I didn't get that
later. And look, even though it was a good mic drop moment, I don't agree with people sort of taking just that snippet out of context, because I don't think that that's what the debates should be. Should be just people trying to talk in sound bites. That's what
no, I disagree.
That's what I feel is a lot of these.
Most Americans are absolute idiots. Most Americans will vote for whatever stupid reason they come up with, and us included, by the way. So you need those snippets. You need those moments where someone's at the polls like, you know what? This woman couldn't even name who she's going to send my son to go face. I'm not voting for her. Like, that's how most people vote in the United States.
But if she
we're not smart people.
Yes, but if she did come out a few seconds later and actually name the provinces, then it sort of takes some.
I mean, she didn't do it instantly. That's a red flag to me. You should know that if you're a private military contractor on the top of your head.
Yeah, but here's the thing. But as the candidate, if you look and you understand debate, right? Like about holding the court, holding the floor. And if she would have responded right away, it would have put Vivek into a position of power. It would say that it would say that he's controlling. It would show that he's controlling the debate. And now I'm answering your questions.
No, I disagree. I
don't think she knew right away. I'm not saying that she knew the answer right away, but I think that was just a political posture.
I think perception is reality when it comes to debates. I've been in so many debates my whole life. I've lost debates and won debates literally on perception of how the judge thinks of my arguments. That's what most Americans are going to make their decisions on.
But part of that is
most Americans don't really know Trump's policies. They like Trump. Like that shit, it's just they like Trump. They sympathize with Trump. They empathize with Trump. They don't really give a shit about everything else. And so I think people like within that, I don't think people trust.
But even within that, most people have one or two core positions that they believe in. And if that candidate says that thing, right, whatever it is, there's all these like single issue voters, right? Was like as long as you say you're going to do this, you're going to get my vote. I don't care about anything else. That's my most important issue. And for everybody, it's something different. The nature of the debates, though. I don't know. I feel like they need to be really long. They need to be 3-4 hours. And I do think that like the debate with DeSantis and Newsom was better because you get rid of those moments. And that's what you don't want it to become. You don't want it to degrade into some sort of like schoolyard, a battle where you're just trying to one up each other or get these gotcha lines. I don't think that that's the way our politics should be run. I think that in that sense, politics should be boring. You're right. There's going to be a certain percentage of the population that just vote and that are a bunch of idiots. But for the people that actually want the information should be out there. I don't think we should bring down the level of our political discourse to that level just because there's some people or a percentage of the population that votes that way.
Here's a question. Who do you think is going to win next year?
Trump.
I say Biden.
Biden's
going to win.
Are you really, bro? You think Biden's going to beat you? I don't think Biden has a shot against Trump, bro.
First, you got to get to the point where he's the nominee, and I don't think that all. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that you're seeing all this.
Trump's winning. Trump's.
I don't.
Have you seen his approval rating? It was at like 37% for Biden. That's horrible. Below 40 for
Biden's gonna win. Biden's gonna win.
It doesn't matter. He got 81 million votes.
Biden's gonna.
I'm not commenting on that. All I'm saying is I think Trump's gonna. If Trump gets away with all this court shit he's going through, it's Trump versus Biden. It's Trump 1000%. There is no way we're voting.
Bro, if you haven't seen the writing on the walls, I don't know what to tell you. Watch all sorts of weird shit happen next year. All sorts of weird stuff is going to happen. News cycles are going to cover all sorts of things. The economy is going to move in a certain direction.
Did you see where
at the end of the day,
did you see
Biden
where they
is going to be the president?
Did you see where they asked Trump about him being assassinated?
No. What did he say?
They asked him about that because they were like, it really seems like they're just not going to let you in. They played that video of Biden when they said to him, "Hey, what would you do? Or do you think Trump has a chance of getting elected?" And he said he's not going to get elected. He said it just like the way KRIS is saying it, like it's a guarantee.
Someone just said if Biden wins, there's going to be a civil war. Okay, what happened in 2001? Was there a civil war?
You mean 2021?
No. What do you mean?
Yeah, 2021. Was there a war?
No, but that was different. That was different.
Yeah, and I'm sure that when Biden wins in 24, everyone's going to say, "Oh, that's different." Watch, you're going to see it happen right in front of our fucking eyes. You're going to see this shit happen.
Well, if the market rallies, maybe Biden does win because the economy is totally fine and it's
economy is a big part of it. Economy is a big part of it. Economy is a big part.
Like I said, we will see. We will see.
We will see. But man, I don't know.
Ooh, it's gonna be exciting. We're gonna cover.
I'm still not convinced that he'll be the nominee. I don't see what I don't see what the purpose of all of this FaceTime that Newsom is getting right now, especially debating a current Republican candidate, if he's not somehow in the game, right? And you would think he'd make a good VP, but you can't run and get rid of Harris. So how do you make that work? The other thing to consider is RFK. RFK will siphon more votes from Trump than Biden.
If he goes independent, yeah. What is this argument supposed to mean? Finance junkies acting like 100% of Americans are white men. Women don't vote. Do you know 41% of white women voted for Trump last time? Like a lot of women, and by the way, 20% of Hispanics were polled. They're voting for Trump. The black vote is I think it went from 17 to 22% in the latest polls I've seen. This is not about Trump winning because America is white. That's a very naive and elementary analysis.
But I don't even know that's what he meant. What did he say?
That's why I'm saying I think his point is women will vote and they won't vote for Trump. But I'm like, they did vote for Trump. A lot of them voted for Trump.
Well, I don't know that's what he meant. Finance checkers,
a lot of Hispanics, a lot of blacks. They voted.
If he's saying we said Trump is going to win, so his argument is, you think 100% of Americans are white?
I didn't say Trump was going to win. I said
Biden's going to win.
Yeah,
he's saying Biden's going to win.
Okay, well, regardless of what you're saying, I think Trump's going to have a massive coalition and he's going to win. And that's not reflecting my political views. I just think, dude, Biden can't talk. It's really sad. He cannot talk. I do not think America's going to elect him again. I think they know he's in a tough situation right now. I think
they've had it, but to Chris's point, they've had 4 years to engineer this. Think about how they won that election with Trump in office, so they've had 4 years to lay the groundwork for this. And a lot of what you're seeing now, a lot of what he's being indicted for, could have been done the first year.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
They're not stupid. These people are not stupid. Say what you want, but they're not idiots.
I mean, maybe there's going to be some hocus pocus going on, but I genuinely think Biden will not have the votes. I just do not think enough people are going to vote.
We're going to be here in November next year, and you guys are going to fucking eat crow. Watch what happens.
I'm not picking a stance either way. I honestly don't.
No, Carlos, pick. Who do you think's winning, Trump or Biden? Pick.
I don't know. I honestly.
All right, so gun to your head, you had to pick right now. Who are you picking? I think it's Trump. It's obvious it's Trump.
But no, I can't. Honestly,
let's assume nothing crazy happens with elections. There's no blah 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 blah.
Something crazy is going to happen.
Let's assume it's a straight vote, popular vote, electoral college. I think Trump's winning. He's going to get Pennsylvania. He's going to get Wisconsin. He's going to get Michigan. He's going to get fucking Arizona this time. I think in New Mexico, those were one of the battlegrounds. He's going to get Ohio. Ohio's not voting for Biden again. Come on, bro. I think it's going to be Trump.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Do a poll. Go ahead, Amit.
Do a poll real quick because I got to go to work.
Oh, we got a poll coming. I think the majority of people are going to say Trump. And I'm not saying Trump because I know a lot of you guys are Republican. I do know a lot of you are Republican, but I'm not saying Trump to appease you guys.
I would say that the chat, based on what I see in the chat, is 50-50. I wouldn't say that it's like...
No, I think the chat is Republican.
You think it's dumb?
I think it's high. I think dude, these are finance people. They're not, this is
what are you talking about? You think Nikki Hailey doesn't want to make money?
No, but if it comes down to Trump or Biden, that's my point. I think most people are. Okay, we got 50 votes, 62 votes. We got 72-28 Trump Biden right now.
Right, but is the question who do you think's going to win, or who are you voting for? It's hard to,
It's either. I mean, who do you think is going to win? That's the question, guys. Not who are you voting for? Who do you think is going to win?
75.
The chat is 75% Republican, 20. I think that's most. Dude, I remember joining finance YouTube in November 2021, and I said something about Joe Biden. I made a video Joe Biden's lying about student loans. It was some just random headline. All the comments were like, yeah, fuck Joe Biden. I was just like, damn, I didn't even say. I was just like he was wrong.
I was your leader.
I was like, oh wow, so this is the audience that it's a different side of YouTube.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right,
All right,
gentlemen, it's been real. What's tomorrow?
All right, check out Cash Flow Chronicles. Chris is going to be live on Matt's channel. Thank you everybody for joining. 433 people, 400 every night. It is fucking amazing. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. Please like and subscribe if you're new here. Hit the like button. See you guys tomorrow at 9 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Later.
Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Bye-bye.